Michael Imhotep. It is Friday, March 19th, 2021, and we are live. We made it through another week. It's been a very, very busy week. I was on Roland Martin Unfiltered today. I'm going to share a segment of the show with you. Yesterday, I filmed was interviewed for a television show that's going to air next week, and then I got contacted by the Tammy Mack Late Night Show from Fox Soul TV. So I'll be on the Tammy Mack Late Night Show next week also. So it's a lot going on. All right. So on today's show, I posted a couple of articles the past couple of days dealing with a letter that Derek Johnson, president and CEO of the NAACP, sent to the NFL. And he's demanding a meeting with the NFL to discuss the NFL's partnership with Fox Sports. And he's demanding that the NFL not renew their contract with Fox Sports for broadcasting because of how Fox Sport, how the Fox News Network, how the Fox Cable News Network attacks African Americans, puts out conspiracy theories, put out conspiracy theories about a stolen election, etc. Okay. So Derek Johnson is saying don't fund Fox News hatred, bigotry, lies, and racism. All right. So we're going to talk some about that. And we talked about it on Roland Martin Unfiltered today as well. Then I saw and this topic also ties into leveraging our economics to enforce our politics, leveraging our economics to enforce our politics. Then many people have heard about the company that publishes the Dr. Seuss books. And March 2nd was Dr. Seuss' birthday. And they made an announcement that there were 6 Dr. Seuss titles that they were going to stop publishing because of racist images and not depicting certain groups of non-white people correctly, accurately, and sensitively. So you had some Republicans who wanted to say, oh, this is cancel culture, and talk nonsense like this. They don't want to deal with real policy. They don't want to deal with the 1.9 trillion COVID relief bill, American Relief Plan that none of them voted for. None of the Republicans in the House or the Senate voted for that. They don't really want to deal with the infrastructure bill. They want to deal with cultural wars. So I posted an article about this back a couple weeks ago now, and I haven't had a chance to talk about it. But we're gonna talk about it some because throughout the years there have been various articles written and various statements made about some characterizations of different ethnic groups and races of people in Dr. Seuss books, some African Americans, some Asians, etc. So we'll discuss that a little bit. 6 Dr. Seuss books pulled for racist images. And then because of the attack that took place in Atlanta with at the 3 Asian day spas, the 3 Asian spas, and 6 Asian women killed. There was an article from NBC News that talked about why Dr. Seuss got away with anti-Asian racism for so long. Why Dr. Seuss got away with anti-Asian racism so long. The author drew racist stereotypes in children's books and political cartoons, but a reckoning has been delayed because of historically ingrained anti-Asian racism, experts say. Well, the same thing applies to images of African Americans, because there were negative images of African Americans depicted in some of his books, especially early on. And that's been able to persist to some degree because of you have a lot of anti-African sentiments as well, anti-African American, anti-black sentiments also. There was one article from Huffington Post that I have in my archives from 2017. One particularly upsetting and racist Dr. Seuss cartoon is heading to auction. One particularly racist and one particularly upsetting and racist Dr. Seuss cartoon is heading to auction. And this ties into a whole history of negative stereotypical images of African Americans that we see in the media through for decades. Whether we talk about the minstrel shows, okay, going back to 1828 and 1829 with T.D. Rice, Thomas Dartmouth Rice, who created the minstrel shows, or whether we talk about the Amos and Andy radio show, starts in the late 1920s. Amos and Andy, created by Freeman Gosson and Charles Correll, two white Jewish men who adopted Southern dialects and sometimes performed the radio show in blackface sometimes. And then the show in the 1950s the radio show becomes a TV show, gets a lot of backlash from the NAACP, rightfully so. But we have to understand that the way people treat you is largely based upon how they think about you. The way people treat you is largely based upon how they think about you. How they think about you is largely based upon what they've read, seen, and heard about you, what they have been taught about you, the imagery, the movies, the TV shows, radio, music, magazines, etc. It forms a consensus about certain groups of people. So then you have to, when you look at dehumanizing characterizations of different ethnic groups and different races of people in the media, and how people are portrayed reflects what people think about certain targeted groups of people, then you have to go back and look at the Grammy performance from this past Sunday with Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion. And you have to look at that performance of WAP, even though they adjusted some of the lyrics, but it's the song that promotes prostitution, and it dehumanizes African Americans, African American women. I mean, the song repeats the bass line, "There's some whores in this house," about 79 times. In marketing, we call that programming. In marketing, we call that programming. So I'm re-airing the broadcast I did on Monday's show. We've been re-airing that. Why I go through and analyze the performance and tie all this together. And we do a Cardi B, Megan Thee Stallion, and WAP and the Grammys. What the hell? And then the panel discussion I did August 13th with the sisters dealing with WAP, August 13th, 2020. I'm going to re-air that also. I have to go through and edit that and re-air that. All this is tied together. So you have 6 Dr. Seuss books that came out decades ago. The publishing company is saying because of the negative images of certain ethnic groups and races in the book, we're going to stop publishing the book. But they're not going to stop putting out negative corporate controlled hip hop that targets African Americans and corrupts the mind of our youth. You have to ask the question, why? Why does the publishing company, Dr. Seuss Enterprises, have higher standards than Atlantic Records or any of these other corporations that put out negative corporate controlled hip hop? Why does Dr. Seuss Enterprises have higher standards? So we'll talk about those two topics. And then today is March 19th. And this is the anniversary of the protests at Howard University in 1968, where African American college students at Howard University were protesting to have a Black Studies program at Howard. From March 19th through March 23rd, 1968, Howard University students seized the administration building. As two of the conditions for vacating the building, the students insisted on changes in the discipline policy and that courses be offered in African American history. Now, this is at Howard University. They had to fight for this. Now, when you watch Eyes on the Prize, it's the second Eyes on the Prize series. When you watch it came out, the second Eyes on the Prize series deals with from like about 1965 through the 80s. Okay. When you go watch that second Eyes on the Prize series, they deal with the sit-in protest at Howard University in 1968. The students had to have a sit-in demanding Black Studies courses at Howard University. Now, I remember when it happened at Wayne State University. It was about 89. I think it was the winter, like January, February, something like that at 89, right about that. Because I started at Wayne State in the fall of 89. So I remember earlier in the year they had to sit in. It took over the financial aid office, Helen Newberry Joy. I remember when that happened. So then when I started at Wayne State, I met some of the people who were in the sit-in. Okay. All right. So we'll talk about that and more today on the African History Network show. You listen to the African History Network show right here on 910 AM, the Superstation, WFDF. Calling numbers 313-778-7600, 313-778-7600. It's the calling number if you have a question or comment. We'll be back in a few minutes. Stand by, everybody. How's everybody doing? Share this broadcast on your social media platforms. Invite your friends to tune in also. Stand by. Okay. Stand by, everybody. We're back from break in 3 minutes. All right, if you like this type of information, also you can support the African History Network, $ the AHN show through Cash App, $ the AHN show through Cash App, also through PayPal, paypal.me/the AHN show. Stand by. All right, we'll be back from break in 2 minutes. How you doing, SP? Welcome back to the African History Network show right here on 910 AM Superstation Feature Radio. I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. It is Friday, March 19th, 2021, and we're live. Calling numbers 313-778-7600, If you have a question or comment, 313-778-7600. If you have a question or comment. Right now on the African History Network show, we focus on educating, empowering, and inspiring people of African descent throughout the diaspora and around the world. Because right now it's correct wrong behavior, what you do for yourself, what you do to yourself, and what you allow other people to do to you and get away with is based upon what you think about yourself. What you think about yourself is based upon what you haven't taught about yourself. What you've been taught about yourself is based upon everything you've read, heard, and seen about yourself. So when you control the radius of a man or woman's thoughts, you can control the circumference of his or her actions, because the mind can't do or teach what it doesn't know. Now, we deal with a number of different topics here on the African History Network show. We deal with current events in history, politics, education, economic empowerment, entrepreneurship, love, sex, health issues, and much, much more. Sign up for our email newsletter. Text the word Kemet, Kemet, to 22828. To sign up for our email newsletter. Text the word Kemet, Kemet, to 22828. To sign up for our email newsletter, also visit our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. To sign up for our email newsletter as well. If you like this type of information, you can support the African History Network, $ TheAHNShow through Cash App or through PayPal, paypal.me/TheAHNShow. Okay. All right. So I want to go to, we're going to jump into this. I was on Roland Martin Unfiltered today. I'm usually a panelist on each Friday. So we talked about this story that I posted about a couple of days ago. Derek Johnson, president and CEO of the NAACP, demands formal meeting with NFL to discuss unscrupulous partnership with Fox. Okay, with Fox, and this has to do with the NFL renewing their renewing the contract to broadcast NFL games on the Fox Sports Network. Okay, and I want to pull up this. I want to pull up the actual letter here from Derek Johnson. Let's see. Let's go to this. They have it at the NAACP website. There was also a good article. I posted the article from USA Today. Okay, but if we look at the actual letter that Derek Johnson wrote to the NAACP, then we're going to discuss this. Derek Johnson, president and CEO of the NAACP, demands formal meeting with NFL to discuss unscrupulous partnership with Fox. With Fox. All right, now, and let me zoom in on this here so you can see this. Okay, so this is from March 18th, 2021, the letter. Let's see here. Okay, Derek Johnson, president and CEO of the NAACP, released the following statement regarding the ongoing exploitation of the NFL at the hands of Fox. For several decades, the Fox Corporation, and more specifically, Fox News. Okay, Fox News, the cable network, where Bill O'Reilly used to be, and where Bill O'Reilly used to be, and where you have Sean Hannity and Laura Ingraham and all these idiots. Okay, the Fox News network. So for several decades, the Fox Corporation, and more specifically, Fox News, has represented the worst traditions of American broadcasting. The worst traditions of American broadcasting. The media outlet has used its news division to sow bigotry and racism, create dissension, spread misinformation, and promote conspiracy theories that ultimately led to an insurrection against the U.S. Capitol. It is safe to say the views and opinions of Fox News are often squarely positioned against the progression of our democracy and not in the general public's best interests. Not in the general public's best interests. But here's something that many do not know. Fox actively exploits its Fox Sports licensing deal with the NFL by extracting increasingly high cable subscriber fees to subsidize Fox News programming. Okay, let me repeat this. Fox actively exploits its Fox Sports licensing deal with the NFL by extracting increasingly high cable subscriber fees to subsidize Fox News programming. This is the same network that has used its hosts and personalities to regularly attack the NFL and its players for promoting racial justice. So the attacks from Fox News hosts against Colin Kaepernick and other players in the NFL who took a knee to protest against police brutality and racism, etc. Okay, so Fox was notorious for this, and Fox also gave a platform to Donald Trump to spread his bigotry and racism, even before he became president, when he was just running. And they just interviewed him just a few days ago, also, and he continued to spread this lie that the election was stolen. Okay, so this is, I've been saying, I was. It was either last Friday or Friday before last when I was on Roland Martin Unfiltered. I said that we need to have economic boycotts of the advertisers of Fox News, just like Color of Change did a few years ago when they put pressure on 80 advertisers of Bill O'Reilly's show to stop advertising with them. And you had dozens of advertisers that stopped advertising on Bill O'Reilly's show. It wasn't profitable anymore. And Fox News canceled this. They fired him. They canceled his contract. So this is the same network that has used its hosts and personalities to regularly attack NFL, regularly attack the NFL and its players for promoting racial justice. Okay, the hosts on Fox News have regularly attacked the NFL and its players for racial justice. However, this is just one aspect of its inaccurate, incendiary coverage of racial injustice. Network personalities routinely attack Black Lives Matter and downplay the existence of systemic racism and police brutality. A league where nearly 70% of the players are African American and prides itself as America's favorite sports pastime should not be complicit in helping to increase the profits of Fox News. Now, the NFL should, because this is something that I talked about on Roland Show today. This is a critical point right here. The whole letter is important. And I hear a lot of people say NAACP doesn't do anything, blah, blah, blah. Well, it's obvious your ass don't read. Because if you read more, you wouldn't say stuff like that. But anyway, a league where nearly 70% of the players are Black and prides itself as America's favorite sports pastime should not be complicit in helping to increase the profits of Fox News. Now, the NFL should immediately rethink its relationship with Fox, given all that Fox has done to harm its players and the franchise. It's disturbing that this renewal is even on the table. Fox has further fomented racism, undermined the public health response to the pandemic, to the coronavirus pandemic, all the lies that came out of Fox News, okay? All the lies from Sean Hannity's show, okay? Then you had Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson just went after Kristen Clark, who is up for a high-ranking position in the Department of Justice, Attorney Kristen Clark. This is Fox News. Fox has further fomented racism, undermined the public health response to the coronavirus pandemic, and attacked the election's legitimacy at a volatile time. Only reason why Fox News had to back off of this is because they were named in some lawsuits, a $2.7 billion lawsuit from Smartmatic. Okay, there was I was looking at one article today because when we were discussing this earlier today, there's one article. Let me see if we can pull this up. Smartmatic, which is one of the companies that makes the voting machines, they sued Fox and let's look at this, New York Times. Well, let's look at NBC News. Let's look at that because you don't have to pay to look at that one. Fox News sued by Smartmatic for $2.7 billion over rigged election claims. The lawsuit names Fox News network personalities Lou Dobbs, who they fired. He should have been gone. Maria Bartiromo and Janine Perillo, Judge Janine, she needs to be fired too, and Rudy Giuliani and Sidney Powell. Okay, $2.7 billion lawsuit from Smartmatic. And let's flip over you. Let's flip over. I'll show you that one right quick. So read this article. Is also one from the New York Times dealing with this. Not $1 million lawsuit, $2.7 billion lawsuit. Fox News sued by Smartmatic for $2.7 billion lawsuit over rigged election claims. The lawsuit is something like 285 pages. You know you really had to piss somebody off to do something like that. They're going to sue you for $2.7 billion. Smartmatic, an international elections equipment company, has sued Fox News for more than $2.7 billion with a B over false reports it was part of a conspiracy to steal the 2020 election. Quote, Fox is responsible for this disinformation campaign, which has damaged democracy worldwide and irreparably harmed Smartmatic and other stakeholders who contribute to modern elections, Smartmatic CEO Antonio Magica said in a statement on the company's website posted Tuesday. The lawsuit names Fox News network personalities Lou Dobbs, Maria Bartiromo, Janine Perillo, and Rudy Giuliani and Sidney Powell, the legal associates of former President Donald Trump, as defendants. It lays out 13 separate instances in which a Fox News personality or guest claimed that Smartmatic was used to rig the 2020 election. Now, they were also sued by the Dominion voting system as well. Okay, Dominion hit. There was some person with Dominion. It was like a $1.3 billion lawsuit, I think, from Dominion, and we'll pull that up also. Okay, so this ties into what he's talking about. All right, let's see here. This was CNBC has an article about this. Dominion and Smartmatic have serious shot at victory in election disinformation suits, experts say. Let's see if we could pull up one dealing with Dominion. $1.3 billion lawsuit. Dominion launched. They filed a lawsuit suing personal attorney Rudy Giuliani, Sidney Powell, a conspiracy theorist. They sued a My Pillow guy, Michael Imhotep, as well. A bunch of other people. These people have appeared on Fox News. Okay, so we'll get some more information on that lawsuit, but you get the picture. Let's see. Okay, let's continue here. I want to go back to the letter from President and CEO of the NAACP, Derek Johnson. I just want to give you a little background information on this because there's so much and some things people may forget. All right, now the NAACP is requesting a formal meeting with NFL leadership to discuss the unscrupulous tactics employed by Fox to underwrite hate speech and the un-American attacks on those that stand for racial equity and justice. Okay, the NAACP is requesting a formal meeting with NFL leadership to discuss the unscrupulous tactics employed by Fox to underwrite hate speech and the un-American attacks on those that stand for racial equity and justice. The NAACP is ready to work in tandem with the NFL and hold Fox accountable. All right, so we'll post a link here. You can read this in its entirety. There was also a good article from USA Today dealing with this as well. I posted that on our Facebook fan page, the African History Network, a couple of days ago. All right, so I want to go to clip one here. This is from Roland Martin Unfiltered today, and we discussed this. Let's go to this clip, Shakita. Take it off mute.
Accountable. Rob, I'll start with you. You have a division of Fox, which is Fox Broadcasting. You've got Fox Sports. You've got Fox News. Then, of course, Rupert Murdoch also owns the Wall Street Journal, New York Post, and other outlets as well. Do you think that the NAACP is conflating things? Do you think that that they really don't have a case? Do you think that the argument that they're making is a just one in criticizing the NFL for signing a multi-billion-dollar rights deal with Fox Corporation?
Yeah, they certainly have a just cause. Now, whether they can do anything about it legally, I mean, that's another question, but they definitely have a just cause. And this should be a signal for progressives, those who believe in democracy. We have to start attacking this propaganda. It is not news. They have basically a television show with just made up characters. You don't know why people are evil. They're just evil. Well, you know why they're evil a lot of times because of their race or because of their politics. But they make it out to be these people to be evil, and then they dehumanize these people. And this is what leads to the type of hate and type of attacks we see with what happened to our Asian brothers and sisters in Atlanta. It's what happened. You see the racial violence kick up all over last year. It's because the words you say matter. They create a climate, and they know what they're doing. You know, racism sells, fear sells, and they learn that if we can just trigger people's emotion, we can trigger their fear. We can make money this way. So it's not about news. It's not about news for the right wing, specifically for Fox. It's about how do we demonize anybody that makes us feel insecure, that might make some white people feel like they need to react, because that'll make people tune into the news, because news is boring. Look, news is, when it comes down to it, when it comes down to straight up news and people are reporting like, these are the facts, these are what happened, Rupert Murdoch discovered, like, that's not the way we want to make money. We can make money if we make everybody feel like they're being grieved all the time, like their country's being taken from them, simply because a black man gets elected. Something's being taken away from you. No, it's not. It's America. It's being more inclusive. Nothing's being taken away. It's being more inclusive. But that seems to some, and Fox News has been perpetuating this, that things are being taken away from me, and that has caused division. I think the NAACP is absolutely right. Not only are they right, we need more people to join them, and this needs to be taken more seriously, because this propaganda is really affecting our democracy. It's really destroying it, because that's how America goes down. It goes down by Americans. Americans implode. We fight each other, and we just believe the other side is evil simply because they're black or they have different politics. This is what the right wing is doing, and they don't have any journalistic standards. They don't care. It's all about how do we just provoke emotion? How do we make controversy? And that's it. That's not news.
Michael?
I posted about this on my Facebook fan page, the African History Network, a couple of days ago, Roland, and I totally agree with Derek Johnson, and I think they should go further than this. I think they should rally the corporations that donate to the NAACP on an annual basis, and leverage that power to also put pressure on Fox and on the Fox entity, because some of those same corporations advertise on the various Fox networks, the Fox cable network, Fox Broadcasting, etc. But I read through the letter that President Johnson said, and he hit on a number of very, very important things. Number one, Fox News, the lies that they were pushing about the stolen election. This was an attempt to overturn the election results and overturn African American people's votes, nullify our votes. But then the NFL re-signs a deal with Fox Sports, and 70% of the league is African American. So it's like our bodies are generating money that's being used against us. Our bodies are working for an entity that's being used against African Americans as a whole. We look at Tucker Carlson in the segment you just did a couple of days ago, where Tucker Carlson is going after Kristen Clark, okay, whose nomination to the Department of Justice she's running into problems, okay, with white male Republicans or Republicans that want to act like they're white, like Rafael Ted Cruz, okay? We're dealing with these types of culture wars that Fox is fueling. And at the same time, you look at the people like Sean Hannity and others on Fox News that were fueling lies about coronavirus and giving a platform to the traitor-in-chief, Benedict Donald, to go on Fox News and lie about coronavirus, which also puts lives of African Americans in jeopardy. So I'm totally for this. We have to leverage our economics to enforce our politics, man. And as far as I'm concerned, we need to do everything we can to take Fox News out. As far as I'm concerned, we need to look at what Color Change did and how they got Bill O'Reilly off the air. They put pressure on 80 advertisers. Color Change and other organizations put pressure on 80 advertisers. Saw support from Bill O'Reilly's show where it wasn't profitable anymore, and Fox News canceled their show. We need to do the same thing with that entire Fox cable network. All right, pause it right there, Chiquita. Okay, all right. So you can tell I'm not a fan of Fox News. The Fox News cable network. I'm not a fan at all. So check out the article from the Griot. We have it up here. There's a picture in it. Let's see, where is that? Check out the article from the Griot. NAACP asks NFL not to fund Fox News due to hatred, bigotry, lies, racism. This is from March 19th, 2021. There's an extensive article from USA Today. I posted the one from USA Today. I actually posted one from the Griot also. I saw the one from USA Today first. So we posted this a couple of days ago. The one from USA Today. NAACP to NFL, don't fund Fox News, hatred, bigotry, lies, and racism. And very quickly here, one of the things they talk about here in the article, let's see. So the letter sent to Roger Goodell from Derek Johnson, the president and chief executive of the NAACP on March 9th and obtained by the USA Today. USA Today Sports also says in part that the NFL's programming should not be used as a bargaining tool. The NFL's programming should not be used as a bargaining tool for Rupert Murdoch to help fund Fox News, hatred, bigotry, lies, and racism. All right. Now, I guess maybe it was March 9th on the NAACP website. It said March 18th. But anyway, I guess it was March 9th. There was one part, it said that Fox News, let's see, the NFL did not respond. The NFL did not respond in another. Well, the NFL did not immediately respond, immediately return a request for comment. The NFL did respond in another way. However, it announced a mega deal on Thursday afternoon, March 18th, with television partners CBS, Fox, NBC, and ESPN, ABC. Also, the league shifted its Thursday night package to Amazon Prime. You're going to hear more about this. I hope so. This is, the NFL really has to answer for this. You can't say that you support, because Roger Goodell just came out a couple months ago and said that NFL was wrong about Colin Kaepernick. Colin Kaepernick was right. Right? The protest taking the on Colin Kaepernick was right. Well, you're going to sign a deal and broadcast on the network that constantly attack Colin Kaepernick and the NFL players. Then you have Laura Ingraham, who told LeBron James to shut up and dribble. She's on the Fox News network. So, well, you'll hear more about this, okay? We're gonna go to this next story. The Dr. Seuss is back in the news. And throughout the years, I would see articles dealing with Dr. Seuss. And I would see articles dealing with stereotypical images from decades ago, Dr. Seuss books. All right. Well, March 2nd was Dr. Seuss' birthday. Okay. And his real name is Theodore Seuss Geisel. Theodore Seuss Geisel. He was born March 2nd, 1904. And he died in 1991. So everybody knows him as Dr. Seuss. Yeah, I grew up with Dr. Seuss books, The Cat in the Hat and Green Eggs and Ham. And, I grew up with Dr. Seuss books. I bought a few Dr. Seuss books for my daughter. Okay. But 6 Dr. Seuss books have been pulled for racist images. 6 Dr. Seuss books have been pulled for racist images. Now, you have Republicans going crazy and say this is cancel culture, things like this. They were pulled by the publishing company that publishes the Dr. Seuss books, Dr. Seuss Enterprises. These are the ones that pulled it. It wasn't quote unquote liberals or whatever, however you want to put it. No, this is the publishing company that made this decision. Let's do this quickly. Let's try to squeeze in a couple calls. We have a couple callers holding. Let's see who we have here. Let's go to Dave, line 1. Dave, welcome to the African History Network show. Tell us where you're calling from, Dave. We got a couple minutes here.
Yeah, this is Dave from Hampton Roads in Virginia. How you doing, Mike?
Hey, how's it going? You all right?
Yeah, I'm doing fine, man. Hey, I'm enjoying the coverage you guys are doing on this NFL thing. I thought we were supposed to be able to talk to JC. He'd be NFL liaison. What happened to that?
Talk to who?
Jay-Z. Forgot that?
But Jay-Z was supposed to be producing a Super Bowl halftime show, which he did, and he was going to produce like inspirational songs that somehow tied into Black Lives Matter or something. I never could really figure that whole thing out because Jay-Z was at a press conference with Roger Goodell, and Jay-Z said this was his deal with the NFL was the next step in like the movement. And I'm trying to figure out, what are you talking about? How's that the next step?
Yeah, exactly.
How's that the next?
Exactly. I really just joking, kind of tongue in cheek.
Right. I understand.
He's really not about that. He's really not about that much.
Yeah.
But my main question is about the coverage of the Asian assaults.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's terrible. These Asian assaults, particularly on the elderly. I think all Americans get caught up in crime, get caught up in outright attacks and even sometimes murders, particularly Black Americans. Mm-hmm. Actually, there's a couple of reports out that said by far Black Americans still outpace everybody else in terms of racial attacks.
Hate crimes?
Attack Black Americans more than any other people.
Yeah, but hate crimes, generally speaking.
They're showing a lot more Asian attacks, and I understand that, but I'm wondering if black media is not kind of missing something. For example, I think last month they found a black girl. They arrested a white couple for lynching a black girl, I want to say in North Carolina. And just last week they found a black kid hanging somewhere out west. I can't remember. Nobody really reported it. Rowan didn't report it. You didn't report it. Joy Reid didn't report it. Tiffany Croft didn't report it. I'm saying black people are still being attacked, even among the Asian climate, and it's the responsibility of the black media. Even though you get caught up in the Asian thing, you're still a black media. You still should report what's happening to blacks.
Well, there's a lot of stuff that happens that I don't report because I don't have time. There's a lot of stuff. It's a lot of stuff I report that now I post more.
Just you wouldn't be a
Right,
problem.
right.
But none of the major blacks are reporting. That's my problem.
Right.
That's
Well. Here's the thing. Is a couple of things. One, a lot of times you have who reported on this. Who reported on these attacks?
Mostly online media sources, the main sources, CBS News.
Oh yeah, they got more resources. CBS News, they have more resources. CBS News has more resources. They have so much they don't have to charge for access to their platform. See, Washington Post and New York Times, they have to charge for access to their platforms. I know because I have digital subscriptions with them. Okay, so
Mike, that's always the case.
So no. I understand.
Asian attacks though.
Joy's been reporting on a lot of stuff. I've watched Joy when she had a daily show. I watched Joy when she had. I watched Joy. I watched Joy when she had a daily show, the Reed Report, before AM Joy. Okay, so if there's attacks like that going on, and in different news1.com is not reporting on it, blackamericaweb.com is not reporting on it, what have you. I would encourage people to send them the article from a mainstream source and ask them to write about it. Sometimes they don't know about it. They can't. It's a lot out here, and I can tell you right now, African American news sources are dealing with limited resources. This is why a lot of the articles. This is why a lot of the articles that they write are rewriting articles from mainstream news sources because they don't have enough resources to do original articles. So if it's something, if it's a topic or article that they're not covering that you want them to cover, I would encourage you to send it to them. I know the Griot covers a whole lot of stuff. Griot can cover more stuff than I can. News1.com can cover more than I can. The Root is not African American owned, but it's African. So it's like. But usually local news sources, if it's a killing that takes place in Detroit, all that ain't gonna make a lot of national news sources. It'll make local news sources. It's not gonna make a lot of national news sources. Okay. All right. Thanks for calling. Let's try to squeeze this other call in. We got Jerome. We still have Jerome. All right. Let's squeeze this clip in here. This is from NBC Nightly News. This is dealing with 6 Dr. Seuss books being removed for racist images. Let's go to this clip quickly. Well, we may be out of time here. Well, I'll play it on my end. We're out of time here on 910 AM Superstation WFDF because we took a call. We'll be back Sunday. If you'd like this type of information, you can support the African History Network, $ the AHN Show through Cash App. $ the AHN Show through Cash App, also through PayPal, paypal.me/the AHN Show, through PayPal or at our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. Remember, right now it's correct wrong behavior. It's not over till we win. Wakanda forever. And we'll talk to you Sunday night. Peace. All right. Stand by, everybody. I'm going to play this clip here on my end here, because we ran out of time here on 910. So this deals with 6 Dr. Seuss books being removed for racist images. And then you have some Republicans that lost their minds also. Hold on, let's go back
Today's
to this
decision
clip.
to stop publishing 6 Dr. Many of his books are beloved for their zany characters.
But the cat in the hat.
Today's decision to stop publishing 6 Dr. Seuss books comes after they've been criticized for spreading racist images. For example, the book, And to Think That I Saw It on Mulberry Street, a character described as Chinese, has 2 lines for eyes. And in If I Ran the Zoo, 2 characters portraying people from Africa are shown shirtless, shoeless, and wearing grass skirts. In a statement, Dr. Seuss Enterprises said, working with a panel of experts and educators, the decision was made last year because these books portray people in ways that are hurtful and wrong. The reaction was mixed, some tweeting, to publishers, it's never too late to review your books. Every day, there's a new woke story about something getting canceled. What does this say about what's happening in society right now?
Society is recognizing the ills of the past and attempting to move beyond that.
Columbia University professor Chris Emden says he'll still let his daughter read other Dr. Seuss books.
And she sees an image in it that looks like her. It won't be one that's behind the walls of a zoo. It's thoughtfulness, not cancellation.
Dr. Seuss Enterprises wrote, their decision is part of their broader plan that supports all communities and families. Tonight, a popular name in children's books, editing its collection to continue its appeal. Rahima Ellis, NBC News.
Okay, so that is a little background information on the Dr. Seuss books. Now, this is the publisher doing this, right? So I saw a few articles dealing with this. One is from NBC News. 6 Dr. Seuss books pulled for racist image. 6 Dr. Seuss books pulled for racist image. Let me try to pull this one up here. All right. Okay, let's go to this article here. So the 6 titles include And to Think That I Saw It on Mulberry Street. And to Think That I Saw It on Mulberry Street. I think I read that when I was a kid also. I read a bunch of Dr. Seuss books when I was a child. All right, let's flip over. Look at this one here. Okay, so and it also includes If I Ran the Zoo. If I Ran the Zoo. They're going to stop being published because of racist and insensitive imagery. Because of racist and insensitive imagery, the business that preserves and protects the author's legacy said on Tuesday. So it's Dr. Seuss Enterprises. They said these books portray people in ways that are hurtful and wrong. In ways that are hurtful and wrong. And Dr. Seuss Enterprises told the Associated Press in a statement that coincided with the late author and illustrator's birthday, March 2nd. Okay. Now, ceasing sales of these books is only part of our commitment and broader plan to ensure Dr. Seuss Enterprises catalog represents and supports all communities and families, they said in a statement. Now, the other books affected are McEllicott's Pool, P-O-O-L, McEllicott's Pool, On Beyond Zebra, Scrambled Eggs Supper, and The Cat's Quizzer. All right. Now, I know Flying Lion Ted Cruz decided to read Green Eggs and Ham as some type of protest, but Green Eggs and Ham is not one of the books that they're going to stop publishing. Once again, this is the publishing company deciding, because of these stereotypical images and insensitive images, they're going to stop publishing these books, these 6 titles. Now, in a statement, they said Dr. Seuss Enterprises listened and took feedback from our audiences, including teachers, academics, and specialists in the field as part of our review process. Now, all the Republicans who want to have these culture wars to distract from the fact that none of them voted for the $1.9 trillion American Rescue Plan. They're trying to pass laws to make it harder for people to vote, 253 bills in 43 state legislatures. You have Lindsey Graham threatening a filibuster to block the Voting Rights Act, to block a stronger Voting Rights Act. And Lindsey Graham represents the state where the Civil War started. Isn't that ironic? South Carolina. South Carolina is the state where not only is South Carolina the state where the civil rights started, South Carolina was the first state to secede from the Union, which eventually is going to lead to the Civil War starting. South Carolina, the state that Lindsey Graham represents, was the first state to secede from the Union. So Dr. Seuss Enterprises listened and took feedback from our audiences, including teachers, academics, and specialists in the field as part of our review process. We then worked with a panel of experts, including educators, to review our catalog of titles. Now, books by Dr. Seuss, and he was born Theodore Seuss Geisel in Springfield, Massachusetts on March 2nd, 1904. Books by Dr. Seuss have been translated into dozens of languages, as well as into Braille, and sold in more than 100 countries. He died in 1991. Now, he remains popular, earning an estimated $33 million before taxes in 2020. And the only entertainer that earned more than him, as far as entertainers who are deceased, the number one entertainer who earned more than him that's deceased was Michael Jackson in 2020. Now, as adored as Dr. Seuss is by millions around the world for the positive values in many of his works, including environmentalism and tolerance, there has been increasing criticism in recent years over the way African Americans, Asians, and others are drawn in some of his most beloved children's books, as well as in his earlier advertising and propaganda illustrations, as well as in his earlier advertising and propaganda illustrations. The National Education Association, which founded Read Across America in 1998 and deliberately aligned it with Dr. Seuss Geisel, Theodore Seuss Geisel's birthday, has for several years de-emphasized Dr. Seuss and encouraged a more diverse reading list for children. School districts across the country have also moved away from Dr. Seuss, prompting Loudoun County, Virginia schools just outside Washington, D.C., to douse rumors last month that they were banning the books entirely. Now, research in recent years has revealed strong racial undertones in many books written or illustrated by Dr. Seuss, the school district said in a statement. Research in recent years has revealed strong racial undertones in many books written, illustrated by Dr. Seuss, the school district said in a statement. In 2017, a school librarian in Cambridge, Massachusetts, criticized a gift of 10 Dr. Seuss books from First Lady Melania Trump, saying many of his works were, quote, steeped in racist propaganda, caricatures, and harmful stereotypes. No wonder she gave them to him. No wonder they came from Melania Trump. Saying many of his works were steeped in racist propaganda, caricatures, and harmful stereotypes. Now, in 2018, a Dr. Seuss Museum in his hometown of Springfield, Massachusetts, removed a mural that included an Asian stereotype. The Cat in the Hat, one of Dr. Seuss' most popular books, has received criticism also, but will continue to be published for now. Dr. Seuss Enterprises, however, said it is committed to listening and learning and will continue to review our entire portfolio. They are committed to listening and learning and will continue to review their entire portfolio. Numerous other popular children's series have been criticized in recent years for alleged racism. In the 2007 book, Should We Burn Babar or Babar? Should We Burn Babar? The author and educator Herbert R. Cole contended that the Babar, the Elephant books, were celebrations of colonialism because of how the title character leaves the jungle and later returns to civilize his fellow animals. He leaves the jungle and later returns to civilize his fellow animals. One of the books, Babar's Travels, was removed from shelves of a British library in 2012 because of its alleged stereotypes of Africans. Critics have also faulted the Curious George books. Remember Curious George the monkey? Critics have also faulted the Curious George books for their premise of a white man bringing home a monkey from Africa. Then all of you Little House on the Prairie fans. And I used to watch Little House on the Prairie when I was a kid. Okay, Michael Landon, Melissa Gilbert, Little House on the Prairie. Used to watch the spinoff, Father Murphy. Laura Ingalls Wilder, who wrote the Little House on the Prairie novels. Laura Ingalls Wilder's portrayals of Native Americans in her Little House on the Prairie novels have been faulted so often that the American Library Association removed her name in 2018 from a Lifetime Achievement Award it gives out each year. So what we're looking at is we're looking at imagery, stories, novels, cartoons, and we're seeing how what people read, see, and hear affects the way they think, feel, act, and behave. And you have different groups of people who have been complaining for years about the mischaracterizations of African Americans and Asian Americans and other groups in these books that then shapes the ideas of children, and those children grow up to become adults. And if those children, if those biases that they internalize from the cartoons and from the books are not corrected, then they grow up to be adults that have those biases as well. And they can end up becoming police officers or district attorneys, or they can end up becoming members of the U.S. Senate, members of the House of Representatives, president. So people who respect themselves are more guarded of their images and fight against images that depict them in a negative manner, because they understand how harmful and detrimental that is. The way you treat people is largely based upon what you know about a people. What you know about a people is largely based upon what you've read, seen, and heard about a people. So if we look at this other article here, there's one dealing with the reckoning with Dr. Seuss' racist imagery has been years in the making. Well, first of all, there's one from 2017 from Huffington Post. and it has some stereotypical images in it. So I don't. I'll show you the name of the article, but I don't want to show the images because I might get flagged. Let's see here. Let's flip over. This is from my archives. This is from 2017 from Huffington Post. Let's see, where is this one? Okay, hold on. Let me try to pull this up. Here we go. One particularly upsetting and racist Dr. Seuss cartoon is heading to auction. Now, this is from originally March 27, 2015, updated December 6, 2017. Warning, the image included in this post may be offensive or upsetting the readers. That's why I'm not going to show it to you. Just go Google this article and read it yourself. This is from HuffingtonPost.com. One particularly upsetting and racist Dr. Seuss cartoon is heading to auction. Most of us know Mr. Theodore Geisel, also known as Dr. Seuss, for his classic children's characters like Yertle, the Turtle, and the Cat in the Hat. However, before his reign as king of kids literature, Dr. Seuss contributed some disturbing and rather racist content to a conservative satirical magazine called Judge. One particularly upsetting image from this period is currently headed to auction. A hand-drawn, hand-painted illustration that dates back to 1929. Now that's the year the stock market crashed, 1929. Titled "Cross Section of the World's Most Prosperous Department Store." The illustration features 3 panels which show men at a department store picking out various merchandise to make their lives more difficult. According to the auction house, Nate Sanders, the final panel features individuals in blackface as objects for sale. So it's depicted them in blackface with large red lips and bugged out eyes. So you can read this article yourself. We'll post a link here. I'm not going to show the images. But this, this was from 1929. It is true. But let's look at this other article here. Now, this is from, this one here is from NBC News also. The Reckoning with Dr. Seuss. Let's see here. The Reckoning with Dr. Seuss racist imagery has been years in the making. Critics are condemning a decision to stop publishing 6 Dr. Seuss books, as experts say a reckoning with his racist works is long overdue. So you have Dr. Seuss Enterprises being more responsible. But you have corporations that put out negative corporate controlled hip hop that are not being responsible. And you have to ask the question, why? So the business that preserves Dr. Seuss' legacy announced Tuesday that 6 of the celebrated author's books for children will stop being published. Let's see here where I want to go with this. Okay, Dr. Seuss Enterprises admitted that books published in the 1930s to the late 1970s. Well, hell, I was born in 71. Dr. Seuss Enterprises admitted that books published in the 1930s to the late 1970s portray people in ways that are hurtful and wrong. The decision may have prompted a renewed focus on the classic works, but conversations about racism and prejudice in the author's books are hardly new. In Dr. Seuss books, we have a kind of sensibility which is oriented towards centering the white child and decentering everyone else, said Ebony Thomas, a professor of children's and young adult literature at the University of Pennsylvania. In Dr. Seuss books, we have a kind of sensibility which is oriented toward centering the white child and decentering everyone else. Dr. Seuss was shaped by a completely immersive white supremacist culture, Ebony Thomas said. Dr. Seuss was shaped by a completely immersive white supremacist culture. Even during that time, our ancestors and elders were protesting racist works and producing alternative stories for our children. How do we decide what endures and what doesn't endure? It's our responsibility to decide what kind of books to put in front of our kids. Now, the debate is a complicated one because it must tackle the fortitude of classic books while reckoning with the place of such stories in a world of diverse readers. All right, thanks, Daryl, for the donation. All right, also, you all can, if you want to support the African History Network, $ the AHN Show through Cash App, $ the AHN Show through Cash App, and through PayPal, paypal.me/the AHN Show. If you do it through Cash App, be sure to type in $ the AHN Show, and it's gonna say Michael, and it shows my picture there. Okay. All right, let's continue here. This helps us keep broadcasting 6 days a week, pay the bills, pay for these services like this one I'm using through Restream. I got to pay them $209 a month to be able to broadcast through Restream and for the package that I have and be able to do the rebroadcast, everything. So we're here 6 days a week. So I think that helps us keep broadcasting, keep doing the research, keep staying on the air. All right. So the debate is a complicated one because it must tackle the fortitude of classic books while reckoning with the place of such stories in a world of diverse readers. A 2019 survey of success, a 2019 survey of Dr. Seuss works found that just 2% of human characters were people of color. 98% of human characters were white. In the 2019 survey of Dr. Seuss books, and this is something I noticed with Dr. Seuss books. Now, we get books for my daughter who they have African American characters in it. And, we have some books that are African folklore. We have other books that are not African folklore and more contemporary books, things like this, but they have African American characters in it or African characters. A 2019 survey of Dr. Seuss works found that just 2% of human characters were people of color. 98% of human characters were white. Now, all the Republicans that want to have this cancel culture war and talk about they're going to stop publishing Dr. Seuss books, I don't think they're talking about this because I haven't heard them talk about this. Portrayal of and references to Black characters relied heavily on anti-Blackness and images of white superiority the study found. I wonder why Line Flying Ted Cruz isn't talking about this. Portrayal of and references to Black characters relied heavily on anti-Blackness and images of white superiority, the study found. So this is conditioning. This is conditioning. This is programming. Just like the song WAP is programming, when you hear there's some whores in this house repeated about 79 times throughout the song, that's called programming. That goes into your subconscious. So it's conditioning you to look at a certain group of people a certain way and attach attach negative stereotypes towards a certain group of people. Because almost all the women in the house were women of African descent, except for Kylie Jenner. And as I said in Monday's show, white people did a petition because they wanted Kylie Jenner digitally removed from the video. They didn't think she belonged in there. They didn't say scrap the entire video. They said, no, we want her digitally removed. The reason why is they were trying to rescue her from that train wreck. They were saying, no, you Negroes can go ahead and do that and promote your prostitution music. You can go ahead and do that. This white woman's a billionaire. She don't need to be in there with y'all. We want her out of here. We're trying to save her. We want to rescue her. We want to get her out of here now. You can go ahead and you can go ahead and do all that you want to do. You can go ahead and call your man the N-word. You can go do all that stuff. We want her out of here. She's too good to be with you all, you people. So it's good that Dr. Seuss Enterprises is having a reckoning with these images. But we have to have a reckoning with the music, because just as these images are programming, so is the music. Just as these images in the Dr. Seuss books are programming, so are the messages in the music that we hear over and over and over again throughout the day. It's programming as well. Some people will say, oh, well, they're just songs. You know, they don't influence the way you think, feel, act, and behave. Really? Why is Cardi B endorsing Uber Eats? It's because Uber has money. They don't know what to do with it. So they said, let's just give something to Cardi B because she needs some money. Why does Pepsi use Cardi B as a spokesperson? My background's in marketing. I could tell you, they understand influencers. And they understand that when you look at celebrity, Shaquille O'Neal endorsing Papa Romano's and endorsing the General auto insurance and Icy Hots and things. Celebrity endorsements, they're paid millions of dollars because they work, usually. Because they work. You have people, they have millions of followers on social media. They're influencers. They work. The marketers, the advertising executives, the psychologists understand this better than the average person that is the consumer. Why do they understand this better? Because the consumer is the target. The consumer is the mark. Just like when you watch like heist movies, or you watch movies about like them running a scam or something like that, and they're like, this is the mark. This is the person who they're gonna run the con on. That's what the consumer is. They're the ones that the consumer is the mark. They're the ones who the con is being ran on. So let's continue here. We'll be here for a few more minutes. I have to get out of here. Portrayal of and references to Black characters relied heavily on anti-Blackness and images of white superiority, the study found. In the book And to think I saw it on Mulberry Street, a white man is shown using a whip on a man of color. That's programming. In the book, If I Ran the Zoo, a white boy holds a large gun while standing on the heads of 3 Asian men. That's programming. Quote, If I Ran the Zoo also features 2 men from Africa who are shirtless, shoeless, and wearing grass skirts while holding an exotic animal. While Dr. Seuss' body of work has been called dehumanizing and degrading to black, indigenous, Jewish, and Muslim people, and people of color, according to the survey, he is praised for promoting universal values in children. Then in 2016, President Barack Obama lauded Dr. Seuss, saying Theodore Seuss Geisel, or Dr. Seuss, used his incredible talent to instill in his most impressionable readers universal values we all hold dear. And it was, there's some Dr. Seuss. Now, I didn't have all the Dr. Seuss books. The books from the 20s and the 29 and 30s and 40s, I didn't have those books. But I had Green Eggs and Ham and The Cat in the Hat. There's a few other ones that I had, but the ones that showed a lot of these stereotypes and things like this, If I Ran the Zoo, I didn't have that book. And then a lot of these books, even we got The Cat in the Hat, The Green Eggs and Ham. I think it's one other Dr. Seuss book that I got for my daughter. And I went through and looked at the pictures before I even bought it for her. And I do that with all the books. I do that with all the books I'll do that with all the books. I'll go through and look at the pictures and see, because I understand this is programming. Now, the books will no longer, the books will no longer be published. The books that will no longer be published are If I Ran the Zoo, and To Think I Saw It on Mulberry Street, McEllicott's Pool, On Beyond Zebra, Scrambled Egg Supper, and The Cat's Quizzer. The business, Dr. Seuss Enterprises, said it came to the decision last year after months of discussion and hailed the move as, quote, part of our commitment and our broader plan to ensure Dr. Seuss Enterprises catalog represents and supports all communities and families. Part of our commitment and our broader plan to ensure Dr. Seuss Enterprises catalog represents and supports all communities and families. I absolutely think this is a commitment to a better, more just, and inclusive world of children's literature. Ann Neely, professor of children's literature at Vanderbilt University in Nashville, said, we have so many outstanding books for children today. There is no need to continue to publish books that are now inappropriate. We must evaluate books for children by today's values. We must evaluate books for children by today's values, not on our own nostalgia. Children need to see themselves and others who may be different from them in an accurate and positive way. Now, Dr. Seuss has come under scrutiny in many years, as we said before. A 2019 book titled Was the Cat in the Hat Black? Argues that The Cat in the Hat was based on anti-black stereotypes and blackface minstrel shows. Because if I remember correctly, the Cat in the Hat wears white gloves, right? This is something. Okay, so I'm going to be on the Tammy Mack show next Tuesday. I was watching the Tammy Mack show. I was watching some episodes, get familiar with it. And one episode, they dealt with racist cartoons. And she had Dr. David Pilgrim on. Now, Dr. David Pilgrim runs the Jim Crow Museum at Ferris State University here in Michigan. And he was talking, they were talking about some historical, like racist, bigoted cartoons towards African Americans. But he was talking about the Mickey Mouse character. And he was saying Mickey Mouse is a stereotypical character. Mickey Mouse is a throwback to the minstrel shows. This is why Mickey Mouse wears white gloves. That's from the minstrel shows. Okay. So the cat, so you'll see a lot of these things ingrained into a lot of these old cartoons, old children's stories, etc. Okay, you'll see a lot of this because those stories represent the thoughts at that time. Okay. Yeah, he wears like mittens, white mittens. I'm not sure why he's wearing white mittens. The Cat in the Hat. I'm not sure why he's wearing white mittens. Is that a reference to the minstrel shows or something? Why is he wearing white gloves? But they're mittens. Why? Is it cold outside? It's so all right. So you can read the rest of this article here. This is by Char Adams. Char Adams, African American woman. The reckoning with Dr. Seuss racist imagery has been years in the making. The reckoning with Dr. Seuss racist imagery has been years in the making. This is from March 3rd, 2021. Okay. So check that out. Now, there was another article, and we may deal with this Sunday because I want to get to the Howard University story. You can read this one here. We may talk about it Sunday. Why Dr. Seuss got away with anti-Asian racism for so long. Why Dr. Seuss got away with anti-Asian racism for so long. The really interesting article. All this ties into history. And it doesn't just tie into history, it ties into the shaping of how people see certain groups of people, certain races of people. The author drew racist stereotypes in children's books and political cartoons, but a reckoning has been delayed because of historically ingrained and anti-Asian racism, experts say. One illustration shows a that was they show some pages from And to Think That I Saw It on Mulberry Street. But one illustration shows an Asian man with bright yellow skin, slanted eyes, a pigtail, and conical hat holding chopsticks and a bowl of rice over the words, a Chinaman who eats with sticks. A Chinaman who eats with sticks. Another image depicts three Asian men in wooden sandals carrying a bamboo cage on their heads with a gun-wielding young white boy perched on top next to the rhyme, I'll hunt in the mountains of Zamba Matant with helpers who all wear their eyes at a slant. or slant. Zombo matant, I guess it's to say, rhymes with slant. It's crazy. So the drawings are from And to Think That I Saw It on Mulberry Street and If I Ran the Zoo, two of the 6 Dr. Seuss books that the company in charge of the author's works announced last week will no longer be published because of their racist imagery, some of which includes stereotypical portrayals of Asian people. So read the rest of this. Read the rest of this article here. I don't have time to get into it. Why Dr. Seuss got away with anti-Asian racism for so long. This is from March 11th, 2021. All right. Lastly, I want to get to the story dealing with Howard University. Oh, also, you can register for the online course that I teach, Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Ma'afa, Understanding the Transatlantic Slave Trade, what they didn't teach you in school. It's not too late to, you can still register for that. We teach it on Tuesdays, 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Tuesdays, 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we do 1,000 years of history and what led up to the transatlantic slave trade happening. I do a PowerPoint presentation. We have book references, video clips, articles. We do the classes live, and you can ask questions during class with the live chat, like text chat. And all the classes are recorded, so you can go back and watch them over and over again. You can watch them around the world. As soon as you register, you can watch the class from this past Tuesday. Next class is Tuesday, March 23rd, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And it's regularly $130, on sale $80. It's an 8-week, 16-hour online course that I teach, Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Ma'afa, Understanding the Transatlantic Slave Trade, what they didn't teach you in school. And we deal with thousands of years of history and what led up to the transatlantic slave trade taking place also. All right. Okay. And it's also at our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. All right. Lastly, March 19th, 1968, Howard University protests. And this was a protest to get a Black Studies classes at Howard University. If you watch the second series of Eyes on the Prize, they talk about it in there. The second series of Eyes on the Prize. From March 19th, through March 23rd, 1968, Howard University students seized the administration building as 2 of the conditions for vacating the building. The students insisted on changes in the discipline policy and that courses be offered in African American history. So there's a description about the protests in a WTOP news story based on interviews in 2018 with 2 of the leaders. They said on Tuesday, March 19th, 1968, about 1,000 students held a rally in front of Douglas Hall. From there, a group of students entered the administration building. The next move was to conduct a sit-in at President James Nabrit's office, Nabrit, at his office until their demands were at least addressed, if not met. The activists wanted President James Nabrit's resignation, a judiciary system for student discipline, and an emphasis on African American history and culture in the curriculum. An emphasis on African American history and culture in the curriculum, and the dropping of charges against 39 students inspired by the above issues who had made a protest 3 weeks earlier at Howard's Centennial Charter Day celebration. Most importantly, most important, Israel remembers now they simply wanted negotiations and to be heard. Okay. This is okay. They simply wanted negotiations and to be heard. That was unusual at most institutions at the time, and particularly at Howard University. Adrian Mann's Israel said, quote, they would not dignify us with a response. Our demand is an answer. We want you to say publicly what you think about these issues. And President James Nebret never would. Now, as they entered the building, it turned out that they had more support than they thought. Quote, when we went in, we thought it would be the usual group, that we would be there and it would be one more instance when they came and dragged us out, said Anthony Gittins. Quote, we turned around as we were walking into the building, and first there were scores, and then the word got out around campus about what was happening. And there were hundreds of students who joined the protest and took over the entire building. Okay, so this is, they talk about the protests in 1968 in Eyes on the Prize, segment called Color Us Black. Okay, from Eyes on the Prize. It looks like, let me see here. All right. So they have a couple links here you can check out. And they have a link to the article from WTOP as well here. But I remember seeing them talk about this in Eyes on the Prize. And at Howard University, they did not have these African American classes and an emphasis in the curriculum on African American history at Howard. And one of the things they said in Eyes on the Prize is that Howard University, it was like for elite African Americans, so to speak, in general. And it was saying that traditionally it was teaching you to fit into white society and to a certain extent think like white people. It was largely from that perspective as depicted in Eyes on the Prize, and the African American college students in 68 were pushing Howard to be more progressive, and they wanted Black Studies courses. So, yeah, they refer to Howard as the Black Harvard. Yeah, that's something they talked about in Eyes on the Prize. Howard University was referred to as the Black Howard. Howard University was referred to as the Black Harvard. Okay, so hold on, let me see here. Where's this? So, in the pre-dawn hours of Saturday, March 23rd, a deal was struck. Charges would be dropped against the 39 students involved in the Charter Day protest. The students got the Student Judiciary Committee They wanted in the next year a seminar called Toward a Black University. Toward a Black University would be held at Howard University to discuss curricula at the school. And let's flip over here to this. Okay. In the next year, a seminar called Toward a Black University would be held at Howard to discuss curricula at the school as well as other Black colleges. President James Nabrit would not resign. He planned to retire at the end of the next school year anyway. After an hour of discussion and a voice vote, the students agreed to the deal. It was advanced that afternoon. It was announced that afternoon. Adrian Israel didn't say anything at the press conference announcing the agreement because, quote, we agreed not to disagree in public. I just wish we had asked for more. At the time, she mentioned seeing white people being beaten by police at a protest march on the Pentagon. Quote, if they do that to them, she said, I know they do that to us. Let's see. She agrees now with Gittins and others that I was wrong to hold out for Nabrit's resignation. A leader in the civil rights movement of the 1950s and 60s and a counsel in the Brown versus Board of Education U.S. Supreme Court decision that integrated American public schools, she realizes now that he'd earned the right to go out on his own terms. But, quote, there was a core of our demands that were not met. She says now specifically regarding the welfare of the Black community. And you can see now, quote, and you can see now what I'm talking about in the area surrounding Howard that's being gentrified. The lower income people around Howard University are being forced out. She thought Howard should take the lead in redeveloping the community in an affordable way, but, quote, the administration said that wasn't in their charter, end quote. All right, so you can read the rest of this article here. This is from WTOP News. Our demand is an answer 50 years after. Our demand is an answer 50 years since Howard University protests. This is from March 19th, 2018. Our demand is an answer 50 years since Howard University protests. All right. So I'll post a link here. All right, that's going to do it for us. Visit our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. All my DVD lectures are there, digital downloads, etc. You can support the African History Network also, $ the AHN Show through Cash App, $ the AHN Show through Cash App, or through PayPal, paypal.me/the AHN Show, or at our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. We have Monday through Friday, 11 p.m. to 12 midnight Eastern Standard Time, and Sundays, 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time also. Turn on notifications so you know when we go live on Facebook and YouTube. All right. So that's going to do it for us. Remember, right now is correct. Wrong behavior is not over till we win. Wakanda forever. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll talk to you Sunday. Peace.